The red sun of Kepler 438c cast long shadows across the crystal formations as Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped out of the transport shuttle. The alien structures rose from the ground like massive glass spears reaching toward the sky. Each one hummed, with a soft energy that made the hair on her arms stand up. Jake Morrison followed behind her, carrying a heavy pack, full of scanning equipment and sample containers. Elena had dreamed of this moment for years. As one of Earth's leading experts in alien archaeology, she had studied every piece of data about this planet since its discovery 3 years ago. The previous civilization that built these crystal towers had vanished long before humans even learned to make fire. Now she stood among their greatest works, trying to understand what they had left behind. The colony ship Meridian floated in orbit above them, while a small research base had been set up near the largest crystal formation. Only 50 humans lived on the planet's surface, but Elena felt the weight of representing all of humanity in her work. Every discovery here could change the future of the human race. Jake set his pack down and pulled out an energy scanner. The device immediately started beeping as it detected the power flowing through the crystals around them. He had never seen readings like these before. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human technology. Whatever powered these structures was far beyond what Earth scientists could create. Elena walked closer to the nearest crystal tower. Its surface was smooth and perfectly clear like the finest glass, but she could see swirling patterns of light moving inside it. The lights pulsed in rhythm like a heartbeat. She placed her hand against the cool surface and felt a slight vibration running through the entire structure. Jake joined her at the crystal's base. His scanner was going crazy with readings that made no sense according to human physics. The energy seemed to be both there and not there at the same time. It was as if the crystals existed in multiple dimensions, while only showing themselves partly in normal space. They had been on the planet for 3 days already, but today felt different. Elena could not shake the feeling that something important was about to happen. She had studied alien ruins on 12 different worlds, but none of them had felt alive like these crystals did. Most ancient sites were cold and dead, but this place hummed with purpose. The largest crystal formation stood nearly 200 meters tall and was as wide as a city block. Elena and Jake had been mapping its exterior for days, but today they planned to enter the structure itself. Previous scans had shown hollow spaces inside, like rooms or chambers. No one had been inside yet, because the research team wanted to be. Careful about contamination, Elena put on her breathing mask and checked her protective suit one more time. Jake did the same while gathering his portable scanning equipment. They approached what looked like an entrance in the crystal's base. The opening was perfectly round and smooth, as if it had been melted rather than cut. No human tools could have made such a precise hole. They stepped inside, and immediately their helmet lights revealed a corridor that stretched into darkness. The walls were the same clear crystal as the outside, but here the swirling lights were brighter and moved faster. Elena felt like she was walking inside a living thing rather than a building. Jake's scanner beeped constantly as they moved deeper into the crystal. The energy readings kept getting stronger with each step they took. He whispered to Elena that the power source seemed to be somewhere ahead of them in the center of the structure. The corridor opened into a large chamber that took their breath away. The ceiling rose high above them, and the walls curved in perfect geometric patterns. But what caught their attention was the collection of smaller crystals arranged around the room like furniture or control panels. Each one glowed with its own color and pattern of moving lights. Elena moved toward what looked like a control panel made of blue crystal. The surface was covered with symbols that shifted and changed as she watched them. Jake followed her while his scanner screamed warnings about dangerous energy levels. He had never seen readings this high before, and was not sure if their protective suits would be enough. The blue crystal panel seemed to respond to Elena's presence. The symbols moved faster, and the light grew brighter as she got closer. She could feel heat coming from it even through her protective suit. Jake warned her to be careful, but she was fascinated by what might be alien. Technology still functioning after thousands of years, Aine reached out toward the glowing surface. She wanted to touch it to see if it would respond to human contact. Jake saw the energy readings spike on his scanner and realized they were in serious danger. The crystal was building up power like a weapon charging for firing. "Don't touch that!" Alana screamed as she suddenly understood the danger, but it was too late. Jake's curiosity had gotten the better of him, and his gloved hand was already pressing against the alien device. The moment Jake made contact with the crystal panel, the entire chamber exploded with light. Blue and green energy flowed out of every surface and wrapped around both humans like living liquid. Elena felt the energy pass through her protective suit as if it was not even there. The power flowed into her body, and she could feel it changing her at a level deeper than anything she had ever experienced. Jake tried to pull his hand away from the panel, but found he could not move. The energy held him in place while it did something to his body that he did not understand. He could feel his cells changing and his brain working differently. New thoughts and sensations flooded his mind as the alien energy rewrote his very existence. The light show lasted only seconds, but when it faded, both Elena and Jake found themselves glowing with the same soft blue-green radiance as the crystals around them. They looked at each other in shock and wonder as they realized that whatever had just happened to them could never be undone. Elena and Jake stood in the crystal chamber staring at their glowing hands with a mixture of fear and amazement. The soft blue-green light came from inside their bodies as if their very cells had become tiny stars. Elena tried to touch Jake's arm and was surprised to feel a warm, tingling sensation even through their protective suits. Jake's scanner had gone silent after the energy blast, but now it started working again with readings that made no sense. According to the device, both he and Elena were giving off the same type of energy as the alien crystals. They had become part of whatever system powered this ancient technology. Elena felt different in ways she could not describe. Her thoughts seemed clearer and faster than before. She could remember every detail of every book she had ever read about alien archaeology. Information that used to take her hours to recall now came to her mind instantly, like files being opened. On a computer, Jake was experiencing similar changes. Mathematical equations that had always been difficult for him now seemed simple and obvious. He could see patterns in the crystal chamber that he had missed before. The seemingly random arrangement of the smaller crystals actually formed a complex three-dimensional, geometric design that hurt his brain to fully comprehend. They decided to return to the research base immediately. Elena led the way back through the crystal corridor while Jake followed behind, still staring at his glowing hands in wonder. Neither of them spoke during the walk, but they both noticed that they seemed to know what the other was thinking without saying anything. The base commander, Lisa Chong, was waiting for them at the entrance to the main building. She took one look at their glowing forms and immediately called for Dr. Patricia Wells, the mission's medical officer. Lisa had been expecting something like this to happen eventually. The crystals were too alien and too powerful for humans to study safely. Dr. Wells ran every medical test she could think of on both Elena and Jake. Their blood samples glowed in the test tubes like liquid starlight. Brain scans showed neural activity in areas that were normally dormant in human beings. Their DNA had been changed at the molecular level with new genetic sequences that did not match anything in Earth's databases. The most shocking discovery was that Elena and Jake were no longer entirely human. The alien energy had rewritten their genetic code to include elements that seemed to come from the crystal technology itself. They were becoming something new that was part human and part alien machine. Dr. Wells could not find anything wrong with them despite the dramatic changes. Their vital signs were actually better than before the transformation. Their heart rates were slower but stronger. Their lung capacity had increased. Even their eyesight had improved to levels far beyond normal human range. Elena discovered she could see energy patterns that were invisible to normal humans. The base's electrical systems appeared to her as rivers of light flowing through the walls. Jake found that he could sense the emotional states of everyone around him, like reading their thoughts from a distance. Commander Chong faced a difficult decision about what to do with their transformed crew members. Military protocol said that any contaminated personnel should be isolated immediately. But Elena and Jake were not sick or infected. They had been changed into something that might represent the next step in human evolution. Word of the transformation spread quickly through the small research base. Some of the colonists were terrified by what had happened to Elena and Jake. They worried that the glowing pair might be dangerous, or that the alien influence could spread to others. A few colonists packed their belongings and demanded to be returned to the ship in orbit, but other colonists were fascinated by the possibilities. If the alien technology could enhance human abilities without causing harm, then maybe it was a gift rather than a curse. Several volunteers stepped forward, asking if they could undergo the same transformation. Elena and Jake spent hours talking with Dr. Wells about what they were experiencing. The changes seemed to be continuing rather than stopping after the initial transformation. Jake reported that he was starting to understand the purpose of the crystal technology through some kind of direct mental connection. Elena found that she could communicate with Jake without speaking by focusing her thoughts in his direction. It was like having a telephone connection directly between their minds. They realized this was probably how the alien race that built the crystals had communicated with each other. The medical tests continued for days as Dr. Wells tried to understand what had happened to them. Elena and Jake were patient with the endless examinations because they knew how important the data would be for humanity's future. If more humans were going to be transformed, then doctors needed to know what to expect. Jake's understanding of the crystal technology grew stronger each day. He began to see that the entire planet was one massive machine designed for a purpose he could not yet grasp. The crystals were not just power sources, but parts of a communication network that spanned across space to other worlds. Elena realized that she could now read the alien symbols that covered many of the crystal structures. The writing told the story of the race that had built this technology and why they had left it behind. They called themselves the Veiltar, and they had transcended physical existence long ago. Dr. Wells made a startling discovery during her latest round of tests. The genetic changes in Elena and Jake were not random, but followed a specific pattern. The alien energy had activated dormant sections of human DNA that had been inactive for millions of years. It was as if humanity had always carried the potential. For this transformation, Commander Chong called a meeting of all the colonists to discuss what should be done next. Elena and Jake attended the meeting and tried to explain what they had learned about their condition. They assured everyone that they did not feel any desire to harm other humans and that their enhanced abilities came with an increased sense of responsibility. The debate went on for hours as the colonists argued about whether the transformation was dangerous or beneficial. Some wanted Elena and Jake to be sent back to Earth for study by better-equipped laboratories. Others believed they should stay on the planet to continue learning about the alien technology. Elena and Jake listened to the arguments while sharing thoughts between their minds that no one else could hear. They were beginning to understand that their transformation was just the beginning of changes that would affect all of humanity. The question was whether their species would be wise enough to handle such power responsibly. Elena woke up on her 7th day after the transformation with new knowledge flooding her mind. Information about the Veilter civilization filled her thoughts like memories from someone else's life. She could see their history playing out in her mind, like watching an ancient movie. The alien race had been explorers and teachers who traveled across the galaxy, searching for younger species with potential. Jake experienced something similar as he opened his eyes in his quarters. Mathematical formulas and scientific principles that were far beyond human understanding appeared in his consciousness as naturally as breathing air. He realized that the crystal network was still connected to him and was slowly downloading the accumulated knowledge of an entire civilization. They met in the base cafeteria for breakfast, but found they no longer needed to eat as much food as before. Their transformed bodies were more efficient at converting energy from any source, including the planet's radiation and the ambient power from the crystal formations. Elena noticed that she felt more energetic after spending time near the crystals. And after sleeping, Dr. Wells continued her medical examinations and was amazed by the ongoing changes in their bodies. Elena and Jake's cellular structure was becoming more complex with each passing day. Their neurons were forming new connections at a rate that should have been impossible. Yet they showed no signs of mental strain or physical stress from the rapid development. Jake shared his growing understanding of the crystal technology with the research team. The network was not just a power system, but a vast library containing the knowledge of dozens of alien civilizations. The Veilter had collected information from every species they encountered during their millions of years of existence. Elena explained that the Veilter had reached a point in their evolution where they no longer needed physical bodies. They had transcended into beings of pure energy and consciousness. Before leaving the material universe behind, they had created the crystal networks as gifts for younger species who showed promise. The transformation process was designed to unlock the hidden potential that existed in all intelligent life. Humans had the genetic capacity for enhanced abilities, but needed the Veilter technology to activate those dormant traits. Elena and Jake were becoming what humanity could evolve into naturally given enough time. Commander Chang listened to their explanations with growing concern about the implications for the human race. If this technology could transform any human into something beyond current limitations, then it would change the entire structure of their civilization. Enhanced humans would have advantages that could create a division between the transformed. And the unchanged. Jake assured her that the Veilter had considered this problem when they designed their gift. The crystal network included safeguards and guidance systems to help species transition safely to their enhanced state. The process was meant to bring civilizations together rather than divide them. Elena discovered that she could now interface directly with the alien computers inside the crystal formations. By placing her hands on certain control surfaces, she could access vast databases of information about science, technology, and philosophy. The Veilter had left detailed instructions for using their gifts wisely. The knowledge she gained revealed that not all species had succeeded with the Veilter enhancement. Some civilizations had used the power for conquest and domination, which eventually led to their destruction. Others had become so focused on individual enhancement that they forgot to work together as a society. Jake learned about the successful species that had used the Veilter gifts to explore the galaxy and help other younger civilizations. These races had understood that enhanced abilities came with enhanced responsibilities. They had become teachers and protectors rather than conquerors. Elena and Jake realized they were facing the same choice that had been presented to countless other species throughout galactic history. Humanity could use the Veilter technology to become something greater than they were, or they could misuse it and face the same fate as the failed civilizations. Wells made another important discovery during her research: the transformation process appeared to be permanent and irreversible. Once a human was enhanced by the alien technology, they could never return to their original state. This meant that any decision about widespread transformation would affect humanity forever. Elena felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier as she understood more about what they had stumbled into. She and Jake were not just the first enhanced humans, but also the guides who would help their species decide how to handle this opportunity. The future of humanity might depend on the choices they made in the coming days. Jake began teaching other members of the research team about the scientific principles he was learning from the Crystal Network. The advanced physics and engineering concepts could revolutionize human technology, even without the biological enhancement. Faster than light travel, energy manipulation, and matter conversion were all possible with Vialter knowledge. Elena worked with the base's communication systems to send detailed reports back to Earth about their discoveries. The information would take months to reach human space, but the response would determine how their civilization chose to move forward. World governments would need to decide whether to embrace or reject the alien gift. More colonists volunteered for the transformation process as they saw the benefits that Elena and Jake were experiencing. But the enhanced pair urged caution and patience. They were still learning about the long-term effects and wanted to understand the process completely before anyone else underwent the change. Elena discovered warning messages left by the Vialter about species that had rushed into mass transformation without proper preparation. These civilizations had created chaos and conflict as enhanced and unenhanced individuals struggled for control. The key to success was careful planning and gradual implementation. Jake found technical specifications for building additional crystal networks that could be used to transform humans in a controlled environment. The process did not require the original alien structures, but could be replicated using the knowledge stored in the database. This meant that humanity could eventually spread the enhancement throughout their entire civilization. Elena and Jake spent long hours discussing the moral implications of their situation. They had gained incredible abilities, but also incredible responsibility for guiding their species. Every decision they made would set precedents for how enhanced humans should behave and what role they should play in society. Dr. Wells completed her analysis of the transformation process and concluded that Elena and Jake represented a new stage of human evolution. They were still recognizably human, but with capabilities that far exceeded normal limitations. The question was whether humanity was ready to take this evolutionary step. Elena reached out through the Crystal Network and sensed the presence of other enhanced beings on distant worlds. The galaxy was full of species that had successfully used the Vialter gifts to improve themselves and their civilizations. Humanity was being invited to join a community of evolved races that spanned the stars. Jake realized that their transformation was not an accident, but part of a larger plan that had been set in motion when humans first reached for the stars. The Vialter had been waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of development before revealing their gift. Now it was up to humans to prove they were worthy of the trust being placed in them. Ryan Brooks had been watching Elena and Jake with growing suspicion since their transformation. As the base's security chief, he was responsible for protecting the colonists from any threats, and he was beginning to see the two enhanced humans as the biggest danger they faced. Their glowing bodies and strange new abilities reminded him of every horror story about alien contamination he had ever heard. Brooks gathered a group of like-minded colonists who shared his concerns about the transformation. Engineer Sophie Martinez led the opposing faction that believed the alien gift represented humanity's destiny among the stars. The two groups argued constantly about what should be done with Elena and Jake, and whether other humans should be allowed to undergo the change. Elena could sense the growing tension in the base. Through her enhanced awareness, she felt the fear and anger radiating from Brooks and his supporters like heat from a fire. Their emotions were so strong that they interfered with her ability to concentrate on learning from the crystal network. Jake tried to ease the fears of the anti-enhancement group by demonstrating that his new abilities did not make him aggressive or dangerous. He used his enhanced strength to help with construction projects and his improved intelligence to solve technical problems that had been troubling the base engineers for weeks. Brooks was not impressed by these displays of helpfulness. He argued that Elena and Jake were no longer human and could not be trusted to have humanity's best interests at heart. The alien influence might be controlling their actions in ways that even they did not understand. Dr. Wells presented her medical findings to both factions in an attempt to provide objective information about the transformation. Her tests showed that Elena and Jake retained their human personalities and emotions despite their physical changes. Their enhanced abilities came with increased empathy rather than decreased humanity. Sophie Martinez pointed out that the technology could solve many of Earth's problems, including disease, poverty, and environmental destruction. Enhanced humans could work in dangerous environments that would kill normal people. They could process information fast enough to manage complex systems that were beyond current human capabilities. Brooks countered that creating a race of enhanced humans would make normal humans obsolete. He feared that the transformed individuals would eventually see themselves as superior beings who had the right to rule over their unchanged cousins. History was full of examples of how power corrupted even well-intentioned people. Elena tried to address these concerns by explaining what she had learned about successful transformations on other worlds. The key was maintaining connection between enhanced and normal individuals rather than allowing them to become separate groups. The Veilter had specifically designed their gift to strengthen civilizations rather than divide them. Jake shared technical information showing that the enhancement process could be made available to anyone who wanted it. There was no limit to how many humans could be transformed, and no need for competition or conflict between different groups. The crystal technology could be replicated and distributed throughout human space. Brooks remained unconvinced and began planning more direct action against what he saw as an alien invasion of human society. He secretly organized his supporters and started gathering equipment that could be used to destroy the crystal formations. If the source of contamination was eliminated, then no more humans could be infected. Elena sensed Brooks' hostile intentions through her connection to the crystal network. The alien technology was designed to defend itself against attacks, and she could feel it preparing countermeasures that might endanger the entire base. She realized that she and Jake needed to act quickly to prevent a disaster. Sophie Martinez tried to reason with Brooks and his followers, but their fear had grown too strong for logical arguments. They saw her as another victim of alien influence who could not be trusted to make rational decisions. The base was splitting into two camps that viewed each other as enemies. Commander Chung found herself caught in the middle of a situation that threatened to tear the colony apart. She had orders from Earth to maintain stability and gather information, but both goals seemed impossible with the growing conflict between the two factions. Her requests for guidance from headquarters would take months to receive responses. Elena and Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including themselves. Instead of using their enhanced abilities to force a solution, they chose to step back and let the colonists decide humanity's future through democratic discussion. They announced that they would not interfere in whatever choice the base community made about the transformation technology. This unexpected restraint began to change some minds among Brooks' supporters. They had expected the enhanced humans to use their superior abilities to dominate the decision-making process. The fact that Elena and Jake were willing to accept even a negative verdict suggested that their humanity remained intact. Jake demonstrated his commitment to human values by helping Brooks' group with their concerns about the crystal formations. He used his enhanced senses to locate potential weak points in the alien structures and explained how they could be safely disabled if the colonists chose to reject the Veilter gift. Elena worked with Dr. Wells to develop detailed protocols for monitoring and reversing the enhancement process if such a thing proved possible. Even though the transformation appeared to be permanent, she wanted to show that enhanced humans were willing to make sacrifices for the good of their unchanged cousins. Brooks found his position weakening as more colonists were impressed by Elena and Jake's behavior. Their willingness to put human values above their own enhanced capabilities suggested that the transformation strengthened rather than corrupted human nature. Several of his supporters began questioning whether they had been wrong about the dangers. Sophie Martinez organized educational sessions where Elena and Jake could share what they had learned about other civilizations that had faced similar choices. The examples of successful transformations were encouraging, but the stories of failed species served as important warnings about the risks involved. The debate continued for days as the colonists struggled with one of the most important decisions in human history. Elena and Jake remained available to answer questions and provide information, but they carefully avoided trying to influence the outcome. They had learned from the Veilter archives that each species needed to make this choice freely. Dr. Wells announced that her analysis of the transformation process was complete and that she believed it was safe for other humans to undergo the enhancement. However, she recommended a slow and careful approach with extensive preparation and monitoring for each candidate. Brooks made one final attempt to rally opposition to the transformation by arguing that humanity should remain pure and unchanged. He painted a picture of enhanced humans as alien creatures wearing human faces who would eventually replace normal people entirely. Elena responded to his arguments with a simple demonstration of her humanity. She shared memories from her childhood and talked about her dreams for the future of the human race. Her enhanced abilities had not changed her core identity or her love for her species. Jake added that the transformation was not about replacing humanity, but about helping it reach its full potential. The enhanced abilities were tools that could be used to protect and improve life for all humans, not weapons for domination or control. Commander Chang called for a final vote on whether the colony should continue studying the transformation technology or attempt to destroy the crystal formations. The colonists gathered in the main hall to cast their ballots while Elena and Jake waited outside to learn the fate of their discovery. The vote was closer than anyone expected, but ultimately the colonists chose to embrace the Veilter gift. Brooks accepted the decision with grace, despite his disappointment, and pledged to work with the enhanced humans to ensure that the transformation was handled responsibly. Elena and Jake felt relief and gratitude as they learned of the decision. Humanity had chosen to trust them and to take the next step in their evolution. Now came the much harder task of proving that this trust was justified, and that enhanced humans could lead their species to a better future among the stars. Elena and Jake stood in the crystal chamber where their transformation had begun 3 weeks earlier. They had learned so much about themselves and their species since that moment when Jake's curiosity had changed them forever. Now they faced the responsibility of guiding other humans through the same process that had made them something more than they were before. Commander Chang had established protocols for selecting the first volunteers to undergo transformation. Each candidate would spend months learning about the process and its implications before making their final decision. Elena and Jake would serve as teachers and guides, helping others understand what they were choosing to become. Dr. Wells had prepared medical facilities to monitor each transformation and provide support during the adjustment period that followed. She had learned from studying Elena and Jake that the changes continued for weeks after the initial contact with the alien technology. New volunteers would need careful attention during this crucial time. Sophie Martinez was among the first group. of candidates who stepped forward to request enhancement. Her engineering background had helped her understand the technical aspects of the Veilter gift, and she was eager to gain the abilities needed to work with the advanced alien technology. She spent hours talking with Elena about the emotional and psychological changes that came with transformation. Even Ryan Brooks eventually requested to join the program after seeing how Elena and Jake had handled their enhanced abilities. His security experience would be valuable for understanding how to protect enhanced humans from those who might try to exploit or harm them. Jake worked with him to overcome his remaining fears about the alien influence. Elena discovered that she could use her connection to the crystal network to make the transformation process safer and more comfortable for new volunteers. By serving as a bridge between human consciousness and alien technology, she could guide others through the experience and help them adjust to their new capabilities. The news of humanity's first successful enhancement spread through the galaxy via the Veilter communication network. Other evolved species began reaching out to welcome humanity into their community of transformed civilizations. Elena received messages of congratulation and offers of friendship from beings she had never imagined could exist. Jake used his enhanced abilities to design new crystal formations that could be built on other human worlds. The technology was not limited to this single planet, but could be replicated anywhere humans needed it. Plans were already being made to establish enhancement centers throughout human space. Dr. Wells made a breakthrough discovery about the transformation process that excited the entire research team. The genetic changes caused by the alien technology were not random, but followed patterns that could be predicted and controlled. This meant that future enhancements could be customized to give individuals specific abilities they needed for their chosen roles. Elena worked with the communications team to send detailed reports back to Earth about everything they had learned. A response from human governments was mixed with some world leaders embracing the opportunity, while others expressed concerns about the social and political implications of creating enhanced humans. Jake began teaching advanced scientific principles to the base's technical staff. The knowledge he had gained from the crystal network included breakthrough discoveries in physics, engineering, and medicine that could revolutionize human civilization even without biological enhancement. Faster than light travel was now within humanity's reach. The first new transformations were scheduled to begin within the month. Elena and Jake had developed a careful process that would ease volunteers into their new abilities gradually, rather than overwhelming them with sudden changes. Each person would be supported by a team of enhanced and unenhanced humans working together. Elena found herself becoming a bridge between the transformed and unchanged humans on the base. Her enhanced empathy allowed her to understand and address the concerns of both groups. She worked tirelessly to maintain unity and cooperation as the colony adapted to having enhanced individuals among them. Jake discovered that his connection to the crystal network was growing stronger with time. He could now access information from Veilter databases on distant worlds and communicate with other enhanced beings across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but part of a vast community of evolved species. Dr. Wells published her complete analysis of the transformation process and recommended that other human colonies should begin preparing for eventual enhancement programs. The medical benefits alone justified the risk with transformed humans, showing immunity to diseases that plagued normal people and lifespans that could extend for centuries. Elena and Jake made a decision that would define their future role in human society. Rather than becoming leaders or rulers, they chose to serve as teachers and protectors. Their enhanced abilities came with the responsibility to help all humans reach their potential, whether they chose transformation or remained in their natural state. Commander Chong received authorization from Earth to expand the enhancement program and begin training enhanced humans for missions to other alien worlds. Elena and Jake would lead the first expedition to make contact with other evolved civilizations and learn from their experiences with the Veilter gifts. The base celebrated the success of the first volunteer transformations as Sophie Martinez and Ryan Brooks emerged from the crystal chamber glowing with the same blue-green light that marked Elena and Jake as enhanced. Both new volunteers reported feeling more capable and aware than they had ever imagined possible. Elena watched the celebration with a mixture of pride and humility. She and Jake had started this journey as curious scientists exploring alien ruins. Now they were pioneers, leading humanity into a new age of enhanced capabilities and galactic citizenship. The responsibility was enormous, but so was the potential. Jake used his enhanced senses to detect the approach of a message from the galactic community of evolved species. The transmission contained an invitation for humanity to send representatives to a gathering of enhanced civilizations on a world near the galactic center. It was an opportunity to learn from species that had been transformed for millions of years. Elena and Jake looked at each other and shared a thought without speaking. They had come so far from that moment when Jake had ignored Alana's warning and touched the alien device. That single act of human curiosity had opened the door to humanity's greatest opportunity for growth and development. Years later, Elena and Jake stood in another crystal chamber on a distant world preparing a new group of human volunteers for transformation. Their glowing forms had become symbols of humanity's successful evolution, and their wisdom guided the process of enhancement throughout human space. The transformation program had spread to dozens of worlds with thousands of humans choosing to enhance their abilities. Those who remained unchanged were valued and protected members of society with their unique perspectives, considered essential for maintaining human culture and values. Elena reflected on how far humanity had come since those first uncertain days after her and Jake's transformation. The human race had proven itself worthy of the Veilter gift by using enhanced abilities to lift up all members of their species, rather than creating divisions between different groups. Jake sensed the approach of the next group of volunteers and prepared to guide them through the process that would change their lives forever. Each transformation was unique, but all followed the same pattern of unlocking potential that had always existed within human genetics. Elena smiled as she watched Jake work with the new candidates. Their partnership had grown from a professional relationship to something deeper, as their enhanced minds allowed them to share thoughts and emotions in ways that normal humans could never experience. They had become the first of a new kind of human that would help their species reach the stars. The story of humanity's transformation was just beginning, but Elena and Jake had given their species the foundation it needed to succeed. In their glowing eyes could be seen not just the light of alien technology, but the fire of human determination and the wisdom to use great power responsibly.